An epidemic is a disease that affects a large number of people within a community, population, or region. A pandemic is an epidemic that's spread over multiple countries or continents. Endemic is something that belongs to a particular people or country. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be looking at 15 COVID-19 vocabulary. We'll be looking at the definition and on how to use them. Number 1, cluster. Cluster. The definition of a cluster is a group of people or things gathered or growing together. For an example, the school cluster is rising up rapidly. The school cluster is rising up rapidly. Number 2, transmission. Transmission. It means an act or process of transmitting. For an example, the transmission of the yellow fever spread rapidly. Number 3, flattening the curve. Flattening the curve. It means decrease in the number of new cases. For an example, in order to flatten the new cases, we have to take an initiative to protect ourselves. In order to flatten the new cases, we have to take an initiative to protect ourselves. Next, social distancing. Social distancing. Social distancing is to prevent sick people from coming in close contact with healthy people in order to reduce opportunity for disease transmission. For example, Jane is social distancing herself as she has been suspected to have the virus. Next, self-isolation. Self-isolation. Self-isolation is a state of being apart from others, usually being locked in a room. For example, it is proven that self-isolation can reduce the transmission of the disease. It is proven that self-isolation can reduce the transmission of the disease. Personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment. PPE is an abbreviation of personal protective equipment. It refers to protective gloves, masks, and face shield. In a sentence, use of personal protective equipment is now recommended in all health settings. Use of personal protective equipment is now recommended in all health settings. Contagious. Contagious. It means the spread of something from one person or an organism to another, typically by direct contact. For an example, Lucy was not allowed to visit the hospital because her grandfather was contagious. Lucy was not allowed to visit the hospital because her grandfather was contagious. Herd immunity. Herd immunity. Herd immunity or community immunity is when a large part of the population of an area is immune to a specific disease. For an example, as the levels of whooping cough in such young babies continues to be high, it's important that herd immunity is maintained. Antibodies. Antibodies. A protective protein produced by the immune system in response to the presence of a foreign substance. In a sentence, the infant could simply be carrying the mother's antibodies. The infant could simply be carrying the mother's antibodies. Prevention. Prevention. Prevention is an action of stopping something from happening or arising. For an example, instead of being afraid of identity theft, consumers should stay educated on prevention. Instead of being afraid of identity theft, consumers should stay educated on prevention. Exposure. Exposure. Exposure is the state of having no protection from something harmful. For an example, James is being exposed to the air very often, and now he's being infected by the virus. James is being exposed to the air very often, and now he's being infected by the virus. Hand hygiene. Hand hygiene. Hand hygiene is a hand wash or sanitizer. For an example, be scrupulous about hand hygiene after changing nappies or clearing up vomit. Be scrupulous about hand hygiene after changing nappies or clearing up vomit. Well, that's it for me today. See you guys in the next video. Bye.